why I started to transplant almost half of my houseplants into ponds. It all starts with a dying alocasia. This is alocasia stingray I bought in September or October, 1 month after I had it, because of the dark winter and I cannot have a balance between light and water supply start to die, dropping leaves, and most of the leaves when I bought it are dripping and getting yellow and died very soon. And when I finally pull the plant out of the pot, I find except under these informed leaves, there's almost no root anymore. All the root has rotted away. And this original leaf is also dripping and dying. It's horrible. It's a horror. I was really one step away to throw it away. And then I think I have to reroot it. Do I put it in water or do I put it in some other things? So I think let's take the chance to try the inorganic rock to plant it inside. So I put it inside. Now you can see just over 2 days it's coming back to life. You can see when I touch the stems, petioles, they are so firm. Look, full of water. This is a status I even don't have when I see them in the nursery. It's doing brilliant. This is during the dying time. This leaf and even the dripping one stopped. He gets stabilized and grow bigger and bigger until today. I have it in this pot in 6 weeks, over 6 weeks, and grow out a nice new leaf. And there's no leaves yellowing or dripping. Everything's fine. Since I have it in pond, it has a good balance from air and water, so it grows so nice. This is a new leaf in good shape, and he unfolds himself in about 3 days already like this. And the plant itself is also well established in the pot. It's not rocking around. And then I start to try to put my bad poorly performance plants, house plants, into pond to have a try. For example, this one is literally dried out, completely dried out. I was only forget to throw it away. I even bought the second one because of that. Then simply I put it with the original potting mix, which is 100% peat moss. It's very bad. I cannot remove it, so I put them together into the pond overnight. Look, before all the leaves look like this. She just came back to life. And last autumn I bought a pot of anthurium. There are 2 plants together in one pot and they grow bigger and bigger, so I separated them. This one is perfect. It's still in potting mix in the soil. I don't change it. And this one, when I bought it, it has damage on the leaf. First I thought it's some transportation mistake here. Then I realized every time I find a new spot of this damage, it means like 5%, a small piece of root down there is rotting. So these ones I plant both plants in same house, same me. This one is just not nice. He's not in good shape. And here comes a new one, and I find also a small bit of root root rot is not a disaster, but it generates nets, which is annoying. So I keep this perfect one still in the pot, and this one I transplanted into the pond. And see, one day after I did that, the patio is so firm. It's much harder than the other one in the normal potting mix. I even don't need this moss pot to support it anymore. Perhaps I remove it very soon. And here is my favorite favorite container. It's very cute. Here are propagation of the Peperomia, different type of Peperomia. They already have rooted, and in this stage I find it's very easy to attract finger nets, because you cannot let the soil dry, but the roots are too small to absorb the water so fast. So I put all of them into the pond ever since, and the leaves are shining. I did not provide any high humidity, 60% in the house like everybody else, but all these young leaves are very firm and shining, and no pests since then. You can plant in 100% pond mix in the transparent container, so you can see the water level and to refill with water. Or for smaller plants, you can just put it in a pretty pot or any container. Then by lift it, it's like a cup of water. If it need refill water, when you lift it, you feel it's hollow inside, or you have such indicator. I did not buy this special German pot for that. I just bought such a pot and put it in my normal cash pot. It's the same. You don't need to buy the German designer pot. It's quite pricey. And these two I plant them with the original soil, and then bottom is pond, and then I put the root ball inside and then cover it the side and top for nicely with a thick layer of pond. In general speaking, the reason I plant some of the houseplant in pond is because to saving it from dying. Anyway, I have to reroot it, and this strawberry begonia is completely dehydrated, or to avoid the finger nets. For example, the very young baby Peperomia. I find this way of planting is also very comfortable in winter, when even we know we should not plant water alocasia as often as in summer, but you also cannot let alocasia dry out. It's very tricky to give water, and simply by dump it into the pond, I even don't need to think about it anymore. The plants get whatever amount they need and also enjoy the air in it. It was brilliant. Two reasons that I have some plants with original potting mix. One is, for example, this one was, the roots are very fine and they are stuck in the peat moss. It's almost impossible to remove it without hurting a lot of roots, so I simply plant it inside. And this one is because I have been growing this Calathea since baby time. It was very established in its tropical potting mix. It's a good mix, and it was on the acid side. The pH value is low, so it's a pity to throw it away. So I take the original potting mix with the root ball and then plant it in the pond. I personally think it's also better if you transplant, for example, tropical plants who need pH value around 5.5, and the pond pH value is 7.1 or 2. So, and also organic material has a higher brilliant capacity to carry nutrients, and these inorganic rocks, they almost cannot carry nutrients, or of course very low ability to carry it. So it's also good for the long term that you have some organic material inside. Today I want to transplant 2 plants. One is the new Chinansi I bought. I will remove all this potting mix because I know it's 100% Coca-Cola. I don't like it. I will remove it completely and plant it in pond. And the other one is a poorly organized. I don't know. She's not happy anymore. The pink aglaonema. I want to try to see what's going on with the root ball, and I will plant it with the potting mix because I have been planting it for months. I organize it all together in the pond, and you need to I prepared the cash pot, which don't really fit, but it's okay. And then this net pot, it's actually for leca, but I also like it to use it with the pond and the water indicator. It's not a must. Water indicator is not a must, and the pond. What I'm using is not this famous German brand. I use this one. I find it's more chunky. These pumice and other rocks are bigger than some of the other supplier companies. So even they are not so easy to break down like perlite, but it still will break down. So I prefer to have bigger ones than have sandy ones. This type of material is quite dusty, so I always have to rinse it before I use it for indoor plants. Too much dust. It looks like this when I got it out of the bag. It's a lot of dark dust. I will rinse it first, otherwise you have a disaster in the pot. You can see the water is clearly. After I rinse it, they look a little bit better, because you don't want the water reservoir to be look pitch black. Dust, muddy water will be a disaster if you flip it on the carpet. Now I install this water indicator on the net pot. Here's minimum, maximum. Here's a red cap. Here is a hole. Or I turn the other way around. Then when you plant, you facing the pretty side to here and cover the indicator from behind, which I always do opposite around. I don't know why. And then put it in a cash pot like this. This type of pond consists of Blättongebrochen Beams lava. It's in German, but we know what is inside. And the pH value is 7.5, is comparatively high. So that's why if I can, I will keep this tropical potting mix with the plants. Theoretically, you can look, it's even printed here. You can take the plants direct from the nursery pot and plant it in the system and in the pot, which I will never do because you see here is only a very thin layer of PON. Practically, it will, if the surface of the soil is outside, it will attract, has the possibility to have finger nets. And this moist, dark environment will be paradise for them. So I always bury the root ball with the potting mix, minimum 5 cm down under the surface of the pot. I bury it really deep. And also, several garden shops I was familiar with was demonstrating this system. They took it directly from this nursery pot and planted into the pond, and many of the plants died after 3 weeks. I think the reason is some of the plants we bought is not well established. Even you give him a good environment outside of the root ball, the potting mix is too dense and they still have root rod inside. And you will see one day suddenly all the leaves have brown tips. I see many times in our local shop, they also don't know why it died. They follow all the instructions and they still died. So I personally think if I want to plant it straight away from the shop, I will remove all the potting mix and rinse it. If I transplant my well-established plant, I will keep the soil on the root ball. This is one, I do this first, fresh from the shop. Prayer plants is difficult, and even if successful, you have to give water very often. So it's not a bad idea to transplant them into the pond. So beautiful. So I take it out of the pot and we have a look how is the root doing, if there's any net pot from the plug plants. I will also remove it. Everybody know how much I hate this net pot. Look, please do not dump this just like it is into the pot, because we have way too much soil. Topsoil for sure, I will look so loose, I will remove it. Here are all these mysterious dust bugs, bacteria. They stay here, so we absolutely will remove the topsoil. It's very soggy. I will not keep them. And the roots only grow at the bottom of the pot, you know, between the dense potting mix and the side of the pot. That's why it looks like a root bounded, but it's not. I keep removing the soil to see if we have any net pot inside. See you in 200 years. Here we go. Look, you can see the leftover from this plug plant time. This is a really bad idea. This has to be removed. It's a torture, it's a heavy burden for the root to penetrate this. I will remove it as best as I can. Now I remove most of the soil and then still some this net pot attached to it. Now I will rinse it in room temperature water. Now I have rinsed out most of the soil. You don't need to do it if you don't want to, because this is not leca. You can plant in pond with a little bit soil, it's not a problem. Look at this plug plants net. There's still some roots are locked on it. I don't dare to do too much than to hurt the root. I really hate this method. Why they cannot remove this net before they plug the plant into the new soil? I really and now we plant it into the pot. Look, it's big enough. After I remove all the soil, it's big enough. Then we add, we will plant, keep filling in the pond until we have the cover here. This is where the prayer plants store energy. Have the cover here, keep moist until something like here. I would give ponds and 1/3 of the height of the pot. Then goes in the plant. It's a beautiful root. According to my experience, if I keep this in the original potting mix, it will die in 3 weeks. Now I put it in the pond. Oh, I forgot to face the pretty side to outside. I always forget which side is the pretty side. So, to hide the water indicator in behind. Now I have finished planting it inside. It's almost full and it's quite a pretty plant. Now I give water to the pot from top. And you can see the red indicator floating up. As long as I'm not on business trip, we don't need to do to the max, to the maximum, so it's okay. And I'm using rainwater because we are already have enough, pH 7.5 already. I suggest we don't use any hot tap water anymore to make it even harder. It's very difficult for prayer plants. So I finished this. The pink aglaonema. Let's have a look how it's doing with the root. The potting mix, I made it by myself, is quite loose. The roots are okay. It's still strong, a little bit too less. I hope it grow well inside. This potting mix is potting soil with perlite and orchid bark. Orchid bark is fantastic because it's on the acid side, has a pH value of 5.5. First, I fill in 1/3 of the height with corn. Then I put it with the soil. It's not like planting in leca. You can with other material together. position it and keep filling. Now I add water. When the indicator goes to a minimum for the plants that we have to constantly keep in moist, we refill the water immediately. For aglaonema and other plants which would do a little bit dry side, we can, when it goes down to minimum, we can wait a couple of days. And of course, we observe from the leaves and the whole performance to decide. That's it. So from now on, these two plants, when they grow new roots, they will be water roots. And the reason why I don't plant them in leca is I have a lot of friends, and the local nursery, they already give up the thoughts about leca, because whatever the theory is, in reality we don't like the performance. That's why we either plant them in potting mix or in ponds. And people has been growing vegetables in ponds for a long time, but I personally will not do it because I don't like the taste of it. For houseplants to enjoy the foliage, I highly recommend to try, especially we already have some plants are struggling, there's no future. This could be the one last try to bring it back. I personally use the normal all-purpose bio-fertilizer on them. So far, so good. This I cannot suggest a lot because it's only been months since I started this. Today I also want to try to plant in ponds directly in the container with a water indicator. I will do this on my lovely scindapsus. Let's have a look. The only concern is some dust goes into this indicator and affect the reading. I try one and give update very soon. So thanks for watching, thanks for your patience, and have a great day with houseplants.